there, Shawna Karrasch here, coming to you with an Ask Shawna answer coming from Villanova. This one comes from Nancy, and it says, "Hi, Shawna. I started positive reinforcement training with my horse 12 months ago. Thank you so much for your YouTube videos and Ask Shawna answers. My 6-year-old warmblood is extremely enthusiastic with everything. He loves to explore his environment, loves to touch, to grab everything. He loves food, enjoys positive reinforcement training. He has no problem with movement, so much of our work is focused on relaxation and stillness. For example, when I ask him to move his hindquarters over a little to straighten him when he is in the cross ties, he will move 90 degrees. Now he knows to take one small step and click and reward with alfalfa pellets. Another reward is a scratch. I can be at his hindquarters, ask him for head down, and give him a scratch, and he wiggles his nose in delight. I also had amazing success with sheath cleaning, targeting, mounting. He is a quick learner and very engaged. Where I'm having trouble is slowing down, picking up his feet. He'll fly it up and then look, I have to do it, and then want to fly it down. Or I'll ask and he paused before lifting and then wants to put it immediately down. It's not a huge problem because I can hold it firmly and he'll let me clean his foot, but I'd love to get it so that he calmly lifts his foot, holds it still himself for 20 seconds while I clean it without trying to put it down, and then slowly and calmly put it back down. Help." Okay, this is also a common thing, and I love that he is enthusiastic. I mean, that's a good thing. I'd rather have an enthusiastic horse have to work on the quieting and the settling than the horse having to engage them and get them to come up and choose it. You already have the joy there. You already have the enthusiasm, as long as it's not a nervous enthusiasm, but it sounds like it's just sheer enthusiasm. So I think it's an easier row to hoe than trying to motivate the horse who's disengaged and worried in a different way. So, one of the things, it's a hallmark I look for in the training that I really like is I love it when they become problem solvers. They love solving the puzzle, but they slow down and start thinking about the pieces. And it'll happen in more than just the foot. They just start thinking, and it becomes a point where you'll see it where they kind of go, I don't know what the answer is, so I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this. And I love that part because it's slow and methodical, and it lets me pinpoint that part. Because when it is like, let's say I want the head down, it's like, whoosh, and you're like, well, whoa, what part do you think I just clicked on? So it's hard to pull it apart. So I think that trying to look for slow, deliberate in everything will help you out. So it is just getting anytime that you see him kind of slowly problem solve and go, could it be this? And I think that's really, really important. Now, there's different things that I would do to help set that up for success. We'll get to the foot part too, but this is going to fall into it. Is I would, one, try to work it when they're already tired. So let's say you've just ridden or they've just been turned out and they are playing hard with their friends, or they've just been, whatever the exercise might be. But it's a time when they tend to go, okay, I'm relaxed now, I'm quiet. Or sometimes, for some horses, it's right after they've eaten dinner, per se. And you go to work with them, they're kind of like, I'm kind of full, kind of sluggish, I just need a nap, and so that can also be a time. So think about the times when he is more settled, more relaxed, more quiet. And then continue to work on that relaxation in general. Obviously, you already know that. But then try to start working on some of the things during the time when he's most quiet. So you'll do sessions other times too, but it could be maybe I start out the session and say, we're going to do the reverse round pen, and we're going to go round and round and round, where we're going to go, we're going to trot over there, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I let the energy be part of it. Because energy is reinforcing for him, I would reinforce less food for the energy behaviors. It already has a value to him, and you're utilizing it well. So I think that's really important. But then the other part is then I reinforce more with the food, which is the strongest reinforcer we have. I reinforce more with the food for the quieting, the slow, the settling. So it's going to be a process. You know, you're not just going to get them all of a sudden going, oh, I'm going to slow down and think about it. You start to kind of reinforce the times when you can see the slower thought process, the moving a little bit slower, the doing it with a more relaxed demeanor, deep relaxed attitude. So because he likes energetic things, and he's done things and probably been reinforced for the energetic things because those are important too, but he might not realize that he can also, doing it slower will be actually more information for him to figure out what the right thing to do. So utilizing the times when he is the most quiet to move into some of those things, and knowing that maybe during that time you're going to be able to catch those things, that will help quite a bit. The other thing I do is, and think, where is he the most settled? So if maybe in the paddock next to his friends running around, he's not very quiet, that might not help, you know, but after he's been running around and he's back to just eating grass and calm, that might be a good time to work with that. The other thing I do is, and I kind of mentioned this early a little bit, sometimes right after they've eaten a meal, or I will, even within a session. So they've eaten a meal and they're kind of like, I'm kind of slow and full and I'm feeling like I've just eaten a bunch and I'm looking a little nappy almost. That's also a good time to begin working on these things where you're going to get a slower version of him than you normally do. The other thing is that I will do is sometimes, while I will give them a few big handfuls. So you do something goes right, you know, something's good, and reinforce with a few big handfuls, and then see if you can't ask him to lift up his foot. Because sometimes while they're eating, they're less thinking, what do I need to do? And they're kind of like, oh, okay, but I'm kind of distracted and I'm kind of busy doing it. And see if that doesn't help. Sometimes going to a target and having them hold on to target and do some of these behaviors can help. But if it really is still a little bit problematic, where I like to start, like when I start with babies, or wild, you know, like zebras even, I will look, instead of for the foot actually lifting, I look for the knee to bend. And I say, that's it. That's all I needed. Just that little knee bend. So if you can get him, if you can find a way that you can get him to just bend that knee a little bit, that's a really good point to reinforce, so that it starts to be less movement as opposed to the whole movement. And also, so looking for less, so looking for the little movement, then I move it to, I can't really show you because it's, my computer doesn't go down more, but then I'll go to where the hoof is resting on the ground, you know, so it's kind of like the foot is cocked, and but they're just kind of resting the foot on the ground. Reinforce that and say, that's good. That's the approximations you want. So try to slow it down and see if you can't create that with either food, either using the target, or just look for it in a different way. Now in the beginning, it may not help to go right to the old cue, because the old cue, he goes, whoa, that's what it is. So a lot of times I'll do is, you may have to go to a little different version of the cue where you're like, just, I'm going to touch up here and see if we can't get you to just shift your weight and rest it a little bit. And it may take some tinkering till you get it. Another thing that may also help is, let's say you do have the foot. So now you have the foot and you needed to go that way. You're holding the foot. Reinforce him a few handfuls and see if, while he's distracted, you can't rest the foot down. So you take the foot to the ground as opposed to just letting him drop it down. But see if you can't, and sometimes what can help too is if you can start when you have the foot, if the foot is soft and relaxed and you let you move the foot any direction you want, then a lot of times you can start putting the foot on the ground softer. So look for, and it doesn't have to be all the way on the ground at first. It could be that, you get the foot and he lets you do with the foot, and he's, and it probably first is going to be like, no, I do all this stuff. So now you finally get it where he can be relaxed. Well, then you just start moving to the ground. If you feel it relax, I'd click and reinforce that. It doesn't even have to go to the ground. It's not even the touching down yet. It's letting you take it to the ground until you can set it softly on the ground. So he gets the idea, oh, it doesn't have to be this big giant stomp on the ground, that he can do it a little bit softer and a little bit less enthusiasm. And so those are different things. So there's kind of a whole slew of things that you can try in there. The holding the foot and then feeding him a bunch where he's a little distracted and he's a little less, busy trying to do something may help. The lowering the foot, getting him where you can move the foot around, that may help. The working for softness and relaxation and other things as well may help. So, and looking for relaxation in general. I think all of those things together, it'll give you some ideas of things to try, and it'll kind of give you a bigger picture of things to look for with these types of horses. It's a blessing and it's a curse to have those horses. My Henley can be a quite busy horse, so I love that about her. But it helping her to slow down and think about things is always a good thing for any of these busy horses. Anyway, so I hope that helps you out, Nancy. If you have more questions, if you have or to morphs into something else, don't hesitate to ask. You're not limited to one. Anyway, so I hope that this helps you. Hope it gives you something to think about. If you or anybody else listening has any questions, of course, you go to shawnakarrasch.com, and there you will find a tab that you'll come up with. A shawnakarrasch.com and Via Nova Training are together, two websites together. You can look for a tab that says Ask Shawna, and if you hit on that tab, you will find a form, and you can fill out the form with your questions, and I will answer them, and we will send you an email and let you know that an answer is coming, and then we post them on Facebook and on YouTube and social media. So anyway, that's what you do. Also, for those of you who don't know, there's a podcast I have done on nearly 50 episodes now. They're really lessons in positive reinforcement. So there's all sorts of subjects there that we cover, and it is called Equine Clicker 101. There's also a tab on the website where you can find the podcast for Equine Clicker 101, or just search for Equine Clicker 101. All righty, that does it. That's all I got for now. Anyway, I'd love to hear an update, Nancy. All right, till next time. Bye-bye.